Who would speak of the things of old, of the things of old, and of the things that have been? Of Sava, of Sava of Zarozhe village, of Sava the miller, of Sava Savanović the vampire. For there are two tales of Sava and the lovers Strahinja and Radoika, and this is the second. Know that in the land of Serbia, along the Rogačica river, there was, and still is, a village called Zarozhe. A short walk from this village sits a water mill, which once used to grind the grain for Zarozhe and the neighboring village of Ovčina. But for 90 years, Ovčina did without bread, and Zarozhe got its flour from far away and at great cost. The vale was rumored to be haunted, and so was shunned, for Sava Savanović had run this mill. Sava's family was one of great wealth and standing within the village. His younger brother Stanko, happily married, many children, a successful livestock dealer, but Sava remained unmarried. No woman would have him in Zarozhe. His only chance seemed to be a young girl from the village named Mira, the daughter of Matija Kuzman, the village kmet, or headman, who did not approve. The kmet, indeed, others in the village of Zarozhe, felt she was far too young to be courted. In spite of the objections, or perhaps because of them, Sava began to court Mira anyway, carving butterflies out of scraps of wood with his pocket knife. On a warm summer's day, Sava left the mill and went into the sunlight of the vale, hoping to meet the child Mira. In his hands were a piece of black hawthorn he'd been carving, hoping to whittle it into a black butterfly as a gift for Mira and his knife. But when Sava got to the vale, his brother Stanko blocked his path. "Brother, I must speak with you. The villagers are angry and ask that you stop your visits with the shepherd girl Mira. They don't approve. Her father, the kmet, forbids it. They're all gathered there with her. If you go, you will be set upon. Do not go to Mira." Sava ignored him and pushed past. When Stanko tried to stop him, Sava's savage temper flared at his younger brother, who had always been more successful, and drove his knife into his brother's chest. Covered in Stanko's blood, Sava continued on to deliver his gift to the child he had fallen in love with. Mira saw the blood of Stanko and screamed, running to where her father and other shepherds were gathered. The men, seeing the blood on Sava's clothing, rushed to protect Mira and attacked him with whatever tools they had: walking sticks, hoes, pitchforks, shovels. They used these to beat Sava, who savagely stabbed Mira's father with the sharpened point of the hawthorn, killing him. But Sava died as well. As he breathed his last, a little yellow butterfly came out of Sava's mouth and flew away. Both Stanko and the kmet, Matija Kuzman, were buried in the village cemetery, as was fitting and proper. But Sava's body was unfit for interment in sacred ground, and was wrapped in a black burial shroud, thrown into a makeshift coffin, and into a shallow grave where the stream in the vale bent sharpest, beneath a spreading elm not far from the watermill that he ran. None thought to cover the coffin with large flat stones before shoveling the dirt upon it, for none suspected that Sava Savanović would become a vampire. The mill was abandoned. The water wheel in time stopped turning, and rumor spread that the place was haunted. Perhaps it was a ghost, thought the people of both villages, of Zarozhe and of Ovčina. But none thought of the yellow butterfly which flew from Sava's mouth, nor of vampires. And as the years passed, the details were forgotten, but not the fear of the place. After many years, a young man, Strahinja by name, fell in love with a girl called Radoika Dusman. Her name meant joy. He was but a poor man in the village of Zarozhe, while she was the daughter of the village Kmet, or headman, Jivan Duzman, by chance a descendant of the Kmet Sava had killed. Jivan, a wealthy merchant, disapproved that a poor man should court his daughter and would often pound his huge fists upon the table and lock Radoika in her room whenever she mentioned Strahinya. However, Strahinya was determined to win over the merchant's sympathies and marry Radoika. As he left Zarozhe and traveled to the neighboring village of Ovchina, he felt the unnatural chill in the air by the abandoned mill. Over a dinner which brought him little cheer in that village, for that village lacked even bread, he conceived the plan to rebuild the abandoned mill. After all, it would bring bread to Ovchina, and those in his home village wouldn't have to pay such high prices from a faraway mill. Therefore, he decided to take over the abandoned haunted watermill with the intention to start running it again, so that eventually he could acquire some wealth on his own and prove more acceptable to Radoika's father. Even though Radoika begged him not to, Strahinya rebuilt and revived the accursed mill. After all, his name, Strahinya, means great fear, and his parents had baptized him with this name in order to protect him from evil spirits and forces. But would that be enough? Back in Zarozhe, word had traveled of what Strahinya had planned, and even Radoika's stern father, Jivan Duzman, approved. Such an enterprising young man would be a worthy son-in-law, and the Kmet promised his daughter's hand in marriage to Strahinya should he accomplish this feat. Villagers started visiting the mill more and more frequently in order to buy grain. Those in Zarozhe rejoiced at the lower prices for flour, while those in Ovchina enjoyed bread once again. Strahinya's business prospered. But the mill indeed appeared to be haunted. Every evening there was a strange rattling noise. Afraid of the legends of the place, fearless Strahinya took refuge in a small windowless room which he locked, and kept his axe and a silver dagger next to his bed. Although he was terrified, the thoughts of marrying Radoika strengthened Strahinya's resolve. One evening, the rattling awakened Strahinya as it usually did, but this time it was even louder and more disturbing than ever before. The inside of the mill rattled, as did the door of Strahinya's locked room. The lock broke, and a strange man showed up. Shocked, Strahinya yelled in fear and asked the man who he was. It was Sava Savanović. Without hesitation, Strahinya stabbed and slashed with his silver knife, severing a finger from Sava's hand. Sava screamed and flew away from the house, while Strahinya shouted for help. Along with the villagers and the village priest, who carried the processional cross, Strahinya searched for the place Sava was rumored to be buried, where the stream and the vale bent sharpest. Beside a spreading elm, not far from the watermill, he ran in life to the grave of Sava Savanović. Strahinya and the villagers started digging. They reached the makeshift coffin and opened it to find the tall man who had visited Strahinya in the mill that night, draped in his black burial cloth like a cloak. His skin was pale, his hands so white, but he looked like he'd been buried mere days ago, not decades. His cheeks were flushed. All saw that one of his fingers was severed. Everyone was paralyzed with fear, everyone except Sava, who tried to rise from the coffin. The priest, in desperation, swung the processional cross, which burst into flame and seemed to brand the vampire's face. Someone else tried to get holy water into his mouth, but splashed his face. Strahinya hammered a metal spike through Sava's chest. At that moment, a little yellow butterfly came out of Sava's mouth, and he died forever. Strahinja ran to Radoika's home to share the good news. And as he got into her room, he noticed the open window from where a yellow butterfly flew in and landed on Radoika's lips. Before Strahinja could do anything, the butterfly disappeared into Radoika's mouth. She woke up as a vampire with 2 sharp teeth and attacked Strahinja, drinking his blood and turning him into a vampire as well. And that's how they would finally be together forever. It was at the feast I heard this tale. There it was, I drank mead ale. Though it flowed down my beard, my mouth stayed dry, for never a drop passed my lips, swear I.